So I recently took a flight lesson, and my friend Mo, who watched Can't Hardly Wait with us, so if you go back and listen to that, you can hear him. We decided to do flight lessons together. The plan was like he would fly, and then I'd ride in the back seat, and then I would fly, and he'd ride in the back seat. So we'd like switch off. Um, and the first week that we were supposed to do it, the flight was canceled for weather reasons. It was like rough winds. So it wasn't good for beginners. So they canceled it. And I was like prepared that week and I was early and uh everything was great. But by the second week, when we rescheduled it, I was like running late. I was not prepared and I was super anxious about the whole thing. So I think I'd had too long to think about the activity. Um, I try to remind myself that anxiety is just misplaced excitement. Um,
Yeah.
and let me tell you, that did not help. Uh, so we get there and I'm super nervous and the instructor comes back with a student before us. Like he lands and they like walk back in. He gets us, he hands us his headset, like the headphones and the microphone. And we follow him out to the plane. Now, if I had to sign a waiver, like no waiver was signed. So, like, first of all, I'm a little bit nervous because like there was no checking in. They didn't confirm I was myself, that I didn't sign anything. So nothing was done. And then
Oh,
so we're walking around this like single engine Cessna, introducing ourselves to the instructor. He's talking about how he's going to do a check over the plane before we go up again. And this is where Mo starts asking him questions like about the plane and how much gas does it hold, which is a lot, and how much gas does it have left, which is not a lot. He like tells us that there's maybe like 2 to 3 flights left. And I was
oh,
like, so I'm like storing that information in my brain. And I was like, okay, two, three flights. And then he says, we'll probably use this plane for Mo's flight, but then not for mine. We're going to switch to a different plane. And I was like, oh, then we're fine because we're only going to go up one flight. It's got 2 to 3 flights of gas. Like,
yeah.
no big deal. So then Mo asks him how long he has been flying. And this guy says 4 years, which like I was not expecting. I had, or previously, like years and years and years ago, paid for my husband at the time to take a flight lesson. He went up with his dad. The instructor had like 20 years of experience. Like this guy
Um,
was like an old, like old pilot. So, um, yeah, no, this instructor was like working on getting his licensing. And so like the lessons were helping him get all of his hours. No. What?
oh,
What? So it's at this moment that like I am like stopped in my tracks and I'm thinking to myself, we're gonna die. We're gonna die today. This is how we go down. Will someone take care of my dog? That is like
oh,
literally what's going through my head. And so this guy's like inspecting the plane and like Mo is just like peppering him with questions. And this is where I'm like, do not distract the guy. Like I said to him out loud, I was like, do not distract this guy. He has to go through his checklist to make sure that we're going to be safe. So he's like, got to go through his checklist to make sure we're safe. And Mo is like distracting him. I'm like so frustrated. He hasn't been flying long enough to like have this checklist even memorized. Like he's got his paper, he's like checking it, and I know that that's probably a good thing to do in general anyway. No matter how long you've been flying, but like I
um,
was like, do not distract this newbie who is taking us up in a plane.
yeah.
So before we go up, I post photos to Facebook for attention and asking people to pray for us because I was like, I don't care which God you have, like God, Allah, Buddha, a saint, or a spaghetti monster, like in the sky. I'm just literally looking to touch the ground again, and I'm getting nervous. But we go up and like Mo does a good job. The flight feels kind of short, so that was like unexpected. And we turn around and we like come back down and we touch ground. So I'm excited. The only issue that we had at that point was like there was an Air Force guy that like entered the airspace without notice to the tower, and the tower was like trying to call out to him like, you didn't like you didn't communicate in and like what's going on and where are you and did you know that you've entered airspace without consideration. And like he doesn't respond, so obviously he's not on the right channel. And he like so we can't land because this guy is like over the airport and we don't know where he's going. And he's not responding to the tower. So we had to like circle a little bit before we could like come back down. But we were okay. We landed okay. So then it's my turn. And I'm gathering all my stuff to go to the next plane because, he said we were going to switch planes. And the guy was like, no, let's just keep using this plane. So now I'm calculating in my head, okay, we were at two to three flights for gas. And so I'm like, okay, now we're on flight two. If
Yeah.
we're up for a little long, like we might get short on gas. So I was like, we've got like potentially three flights of gas. So I'm like a little
Yeah.
bit nervous. I'm like, okay, this is gonna be the reason I don't make it. Like, oh no. So
Yeah. That's
the ins
terrifying.
the instructor like does the taxiing over to the runway and like he does the takeoff. So we just like take over once we're in the air. So we get to just under 3,000 feet and I take over. Now we're really low because of the cloud cover. Normally like 3,000 feet's like the minimum that you fly when you fly this single engine Cessna. Just because like the further up you go, the less bumpy it is and like the better
Um,
air you have for flying. But we're not allowed to fly above the clouds. So we have to be below cloud cover. And so he like has to touch the controls here and there because we're like at 2,800 feet and the wind is like jerking us around and it like takes you like you're trying to correct and it just like sends you to the side or like even tips
um,
you and you're having to like correct. But he has like the majority of the time that we're flying, he has like zero hands on the yoke in front of him. I am flying this plane. So this is like the steering wheel, right? He has like no hands.
yeah.
He's not touching it. He is like checking his iPad, looking at coordinates, like it's got a GPS. It like tells him when other planes are in the area. And he's like giving me instructions and stuff. But yeah, I'm the one flying the plane. And in my head, I'm like trying not to panic. And he's like texting on his phone, and I am mentally freaking out. And I was just like, internally, I'm thinking, like, grab the wheel, dude. Like, are you even paying attention to anything that I'm doing? Like,
Yeah.
it's windy up here. I could like kill us at any moment. I'm like, the plane is like 1 billion years old. It is not a brand new Cessna. It has rust everywhere. It looks like it's been through a war. Like, we really had to also crank on it to get my door to shut and like
Oh.
latch. And so I'm like panicking. Like I keep checking the door to make sure it's still latched and like it's not gonna
Yeah.
fly open. And like I'm pulling my seatbelt tight and he's just like texting to see if like an instructor could take another lesson from him and like he's like coordinating stuff and I'm just like look up and grab the steering wheel. So that
Yeah.
40 minutes felt like a million hours. And yeah, so the only thing I had to worry about was there was a news helicopter that decided to like pop up right below us. And so we were like having to keep an eye out for the news helicopter. But anyway, it's 40 minutes. We landed. The entire time he was like trying to convince me to like get my license and then I'm like really good at flying. And I was like, no, like this is it was like a cardboard box or like a tin can is what I felt like I was flying. And I was like, I do not want to
Yeah.
fly in this tin can by myself. And it was just really weird. Like Mo wants to continue his lessons, but I was like, oh, I'm gonna need a buddy system. Like I will fly with an instructor for the rest of the remainder of my life. But but I don't want to be left alone up there with it
Yeah.
because like it would just like tip you. It would just like whoosh. Would
That's
you ever take
terrifying.
would you ever take a flying lesson?
Oh, heck no. Heck no. I don't like heights. Like, heights freak me out. I would never go bungee jumping. I'd never go skydiving. I don't like planes in general. I've only been on a plane like
Oh,
once.
okay.
You
Well,
know?
I've flown a lot, and so I don't like heights either, but it's really weird like when it really bothers me and when it doesn't.
Mm.
Because I've done a lot of high up in the air things. I would never go skydiving either. There was one year that I thought that I would go, but you'd have to like physically shove me out in order to get me to like willing. I would never willingly jump out of a plane. Like my brain
Yeah.
just doesn't work like that.
See,
Um,
me too. That's what would happen. exactly if I tried. Like someone would literally need to like shove me.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to use a parachute. They would teach me, but like I
Well, they
probably would
go with you.
forget.
You're tandem with someone, so you're
Oh,
connected to a person.
I
You don't
forgot
just like
about
jump out of a plane by yourself.
that. Okay, I forgot about that. Then that makes that a bit better. I don't know.
I
I would
still
never do
wouldn't.
it.
I'd
Yeah.
probably pass out on the way down, to be honest. And like I went ziplining once and like over a waterfall and like one of the points we did a lot of ziplining that day, but like one of the points that we had to like willingly run and jump off this cliff. And I willingly ran and then got to the close to the edge and my brain was like, nope. And my feet just like stopped and they said it looked like like a Looney Tunes cartoon where like I just was like and like dust was coming behind me and like my brakes were on and then like I fell on my butt and they were like you have to willingly jump off the cliff and I was like I can't, I'm sorry. So they
Yeah.
had to like push me because I was like my brain was just like no, I wanted to
Yeah.
jump. My brain was like I don't think so, this is not a good idea.
Yeah.
So
That's
couldn't
fair.
do that. But
Mm-hmm.
flying lesson I was willing to do. I'm willing to go up again. Like it was good, but I just don't know if I'd ever become a pilot. So
Yeah, I know. I mean, the crazy thing about piloting is like the schedule and like the money is great, obviously. From what I've heard, because one of my old friends was going to go be a pilot. But mm-mm.
that's a commercial, yeah, a commercial pilot, yeah.
Um,
Um, but you could just be a regular pilot and only fly yourself.
yeah. See, like
Less
that would be
hours.
cool, but no. No,
Well,
absolutely not.
you're listening to Millennial Meets Gen Z 90s edition. I'm Allison the Millennial.
I'm Hannah, the Gen Z.
And our movie of the week involves a little bit of piloting. It was Independence Day, which opened in theaters today on July 3rd, back in 1996.
That's so cool. Oh yeah, because it went from that makes so much sense too, because I didn't search up when it was released. I just know it was from 1996. But it went from I thought it was so cool how it went from July 2nd to July 1st. Like it was just like a whole like sequence, which I thought was super cool.
July 4th, you mean? Went from the
Yeah, yeah,
second to
yeah.
the 4th. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why I said the second to the first.
I was like,
The second
it
to the
didn't go back
fourth.
in time.
The second to
That was
the
a different
fourth.
movie.
Yeah. Wait, that's a
But I
different movie?
well, Back to the Future. We've watched
Oh
it.
yeah. Yeah.
Um, but so I did watch this movie in the theaters when it came out. I think it was on 4th of July that we went to watch it. Uh my mom and I are notorious like holiday movie watchers. Um, but so I do remember seeing this in the theater. I don't know exactly if it was 4th of July. It wouldn't be unheard of, but I did see this movie in the theaters.
Oh, that's
And it was very
cool.
intense.
Yeah. Yeah, it
I would
was. You were
also
so right.
I would
Very.
also tell you that in 1996 I was 10. So as a 10-year-old, I was watching this in the theaters.
Oh my God, I didn't even. That's actually so scary. How?
But it
What?
was a pretty scary, but it was a funny movie too. So you laugh and you're like
Yeah.
shocked. And
Yeah.
anyway, well, this is a sci-fi action movie, Independence Day, about a hostile worldwide alien invasion that threatens to annihilate humanity. The story follows an ensemble cast, including the fighter pilot Will Smith, a brilliant satellite technician Jeff Goldblum, and the U.S. President Bill Pullman, as they unite survivors to launch a desperate counterattack on the 4th of July. This is available on Disney Plus, where I watched it. Also available on Tubi and Hulu, while Hulu is still available.
Mhm.
They were going to get rid of Hulu, and Hulu's not gone yet, so we'll see what happens.
Oh my God, I didn't
Um,
know that. That's where I watched it. I watched it on Hulu.
well, I mean, it's like it's the same as Disney Plus now. So they
Yeah.
rolled all the content onto Disney Plus. They didn't roll all the Disney Plus content onto Hulu. So Hulu's like limited in what you get compared to the Disney Plus, um but yeah, it's all the same thing now. So like they were talking about last year getting rid of it and I don't know when that's going to happen. Maybe they're making too
That's so
much money.
weird.
I don't know. So before we rewind, what did you think of this movie and what is the Hannah rating? Because you cannot use letters anymore.
I do have a rating for this one. Okay. My and as just like an overarching one of my thoughts on this It literally reminded me of Star Wars. It
Okay,
reminded,
because of
yeah,
space and
yeah.
aliens.
And like the
Okay.
flying and all of that. And yeah, it reminded me of Star Wars. The mothership reminded me of the Millennium Falcon, like the shape of it. I was like, this, it's like very much on my alley because I'm a Star Wars nerd. So like I really, really liked it. I was like, oh my God. And seeing Bill Pullman was cool. And Will Smith, so that was awesome. I liked the cast. I loved Jasmine. Jasmine is my girl. I love her. She's a little crazy, but I love her. Yeah, overall I really liked it. And I like alien stuff. I think it's kind of cool. I'm like a little bit infatuated with space, which I think is why I'm so obsessed with Star Wars. So yeah, I really liked it. And my rating is an 8.5. I think this was
8.5.
yeah, solid movie, solid movie. Would watch again. I watched this one twice because the first time I didn't take notes on it. I just like wanted to watch it for like funsies. And then I think I took like two notes the first time and then I got the rest of my notes the second time. But
Yeah.
yeah, and I have photos of the alien in the mothership that I'm going to include when we get to that part because I always take photos of like the specific parts that I'm like, wow. And I just, yeah, there were a few parts that I was like, what? And I thought the way that they, like, I don't know how they filmed the movie, obviously. So if it was like CGI, I don't know. It was really good. Like, it was really good CGI if that's what they used. So
Yep.
it was
Well, they
crazy.
didn't have real aliens, so they probably did some
Right.
aliens in costume, but some
Yeah.
of it was probably CGI.
Yeah.
And this the age of the CGI, so in the, in the early.
Yeah.
Well, are you ready to rewind?
Heck yeah.
Okay, so this was written by Dean Devlin and Ronald Emmerich, and it was directed by Ronald Emmerich, or Emmerich. I'm not sure if it's Emmerich or Emmerich. But Dean Devlin wrote things like Stargate, the movie, Where Are My Nerds At? He wrote Stargate SG-1, Stargate Infinity, Stargate The Ark of Truth, Stargate Continuum, Atlantis, Children of the Gods Final Cut, Universe, and Origins. He also wrote Universal Soldier and Godzilla. He also wrote The Librarians, Almost Paradise, and The Ark. Now, Ronald Emmerich also wrote Godzilla and the Stargates. He wrote 10,000 BC, the movie, and The Day After Tomorrow, which on a hot day is a perfect movie if you want to feel cold. Like
Oh,
that is my go-to movie for if I want to feel chilly when it's like 94 degrees. You should watch The Day After Tomorrow.
I'm writing that down. Okay.
I always like want to get a blanket when I'm watching that movie. He wrote the sequel to this movie as well. He directed Stargate, The Patriot, The Day After Tomorrow, 10,000 BC, and White House Down. So, he was the writer and director of this movie.
So
We
they've done like similar ones. They've worked together.
Mhm.
That's
They've
cool.
worked together before and they've done, yeah, similar types of movies.
That's cool.
Um, yeah, so we open on a flag on the moon, and the plaque that's left behind that says, Here, men from the planet Earth first set foot upon the moon in July 1969 AD. We came in peace for all mankind, and it's signed by the astronauts that stepped on the moon. Then we
Wait,
see
I
a
have a
shadow.
question.
Go ahead.
Okay, this. So like I do like space, obviously, but I don't know much about space. So like was the moon actually landed on in 1969? Is that like accurate?
Yeah.
Okay. That is a note.
Are you hearing those conspiracies that are like, no, it was recorded, it was faked.
No, but I growing up, I don't even know what Apollo it was, but there was like a fake like trolling like Apollo mission that like came out on YouTube and it was like of the alien Mona Lisa. You should search it up at some point. There's like an alien Mona Lisa that they supposedly found, which I used to believe growing up. I really used to
No,
believe it.
no, they just found the moon and it was just dusty and rocks, and then they came home. Yeah.
It's so funny.
Um, and there's a plaque still up there from our landing.
Oh my god.
Because we just leave trash everywhere we go, which is why a lot of people are concerned about space, and the gunk that we're already putting out in space. And anyway, that's a whole other issue. But on Earth, so we see the shadow cover the moon, and that's a spaceship, and it's huge. And on
Mhm.
Earth, we hear REM's song, It's the End of the World as We Know It, and we see an analyst practicing his putt as an alarm goes off. He's getting feedback. He calls his boss to have him listen to the feedback, and his boss rushes into the facility, as does the others at that facility, to determine that they're getting a radio signal from somewhere outside of this planet. They find that it's only 375,000 kilometers, and it's coming from essentially the moon, so they call it into Space Command. Now, this is the SETI office in New Mexico, which stands for the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence.
That's so cool. I thought it was really cool how there were different locations. Like I liked that it wasn't
Yeah, how
just
it
like
kind of bounced back to where
yeah.
they're like, yeah. So SETI chief is played by Eric Avari, who was known for his role in Mr. Deeds, The Mummy, Stargate, and The Chosen. We'll see him in The Mummy later this year. Now we see Space Command at the Pentagon is getting the news. It has a diameter of 550 kilometers and a mass the size of 1/4 of the moon. They don't know what it is, but it's not a meteor because it's slowing down. Now, the two guys at Space Command, the general is played by Robert Loggia, who was in Big with Tom Hanks. A lot of people know him from that. He was also in Scarface and The Lost Highway. He was in Search for Tomorrow, Revenge of the Pink Panther, An Officer and a Gentleman, The Trail of the Pink Panther, and The Curse of the Pink Panther, Psycho 2, and Oliver and Company. Um,
There's so many
so
Pink Panther movies. What the
Oh
heck?
yeah, it's really good. Though there's yeah, okay. Um, the commanding officer is played by Dan Lauria, who was the dad in the Wonder Years. So a lot of people would recognize him from that, but he was also in The Spirit, Stakeout, and 9.5 Weeks. They decide to call the Secretary of Defense, and then next we see the president getting a call, which we kind of thought might be from the Secretary of Defense, but we see it's from his wife. She says it's 2:45 a.m., and he confesses he is sleeping next to a beautiful young brunette, which is actually their daughter. He says
There.
he didn't let her stay up and watch TV, and the TV is blaring, and his approval ratings are down as his daughter tells her mom on the phone that her daddy let her watch Letterman, to which he calls her a traitor. Do you know who Letterman is? No? Okay. Do you know what? Okay. So Letterman was David Letterman. He had a late night show, kind of like Colbert did before they took him off the air. Um, and he had a show that was on for a very long time. He that was kind of like and now he does well, he did another show where he was like meeting with people and interviewing them that was on Netflix during the pandemic. But he had some like drama come up and he kind of got like he was kind of retiring anyway, but he got canceled because I think he had an affair with one of the women that worked there and he was married and it was like a whole big deal. So then he came back and he's a comedian that had a late night television show. So
Interesting. Yeah,
okay.
no. No idea.
He now looks like a dude with like a long white beard. So,
So Santa Claus?
uh, very tall, thin Santa
Okay.
Claus.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
probably not good for children.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, Letterman.
well, the president greets his communication director, who is telling him that he's being attacked because of his age, and the Secretary of Defense calls to tell him. Now, the president, Thomas J. Whitmore, is played by Bill Pullman. Bill is known for his role in Spaceballs, Lost Highway, and the sequel to this movie, Independence Day Resurgence. Sorry. He was also in Newsies, and we've seen him in A League of Their Own, where he played Dottie's husband, Bob, and we also saw him again as the lovable Jack in While You Were Sleeping. He was also
Yes,
in
that's my
Sleepless.
favorite role from him.
He was also in Sleepless in Seattle, Wyatt Earp, Casper, Lake Placid, Bottle Shock, which is a really good movie, LBJ, The Equalizer 2, and he played recently Alex Murdaugh in the latest TV miniseries, The Murdaugh Murders, that Lori Duan and I have been obsessed with since it came out, all the documentaries and everything came out. Okay.
That's cool.
Well, his communication director, Constance Spano, is played by Margaret Conlon, who is known for her role in Something Wild, Now and Again, and Unfaithful.
Okay.
She was in one of my favorite movies of all time, Three Men and a Baby. She was in The First Daughter, an episode of Royal Pains, which I wanted to mention. And then she was also in Gossip Girl as Bree's mom. So if you ever watch Gossip Girl, she was the designer mother.
I thought she
We
was so pretty. I was like obsessed with her.
Yes, she is very gorgeous, and she stays gorgeous. Like if you see her in Gossip Girl, she looks I don't know. In my opinion, she looks the same.
Oh my God.
We see a satellite orbiting the Earth and crashing into this huge object. In the park in New York City, David and his dad are playing chess. His dad is complaining that he's taking too long. It's here that we are introduced to David Levinson, played by Jeff Goldblum, and Julius Levinson, played by Judd Hirsch. Now, I think this is the first time we're seeing Jeff Goldblum, who is known for Jurassic Park, The Grand Budapest Hotel, and The Fly. He was also in Annie Hall, The Invasion of the Body Snatchers, The Legends of Sleepy Hollow, The Big Chill, The Stand, 9 Months, The Prince of Egypt, Cats and Dogs, Man of the Year, The Switch, and a bunch of voiceover work because he's got a very distinct way of talking. And most recently, you know him from Wicked and the sequel because he is the wizard in Wicked. The Wizard and I.
He was, oh my God. I watched Wicked too.
Now, the joke of seeing Jeff Goldblum, and he didn't do this in Wicked. So the joke of seeing Jeff Goldblum in all of his like 90's movies pretty much is he's always chewing on something. Whether it be gum, pencils, food, he's always chewing. So like in other movies, if you see him, he's in Lorenzo's Oil too. Like if you see him in any of those movies, like he's just chewing. He's chewing in every movie. Okay.
So random. I love
Well,
that.
Judd Hirsch is known for his role in Taxi. That was like the biggest role that most people would recognize him from. He's in A Beautiful Mind. He's also in The Fabelmans, which is a more recent movie. He was also in Numbers. He played the dad in Numbers, which is a good show. Damages, Superior Donuts, Uncut Gems, and The Goldbergs. Well, David is going to move his pawn and complains that his dad's cup of coffee, his like styrofoam cup, is going to take forever to decompose. And his dad said he will decompose if you don't move your piece soon. And his dad complains that he's still wearing his wedding ring and he's been divorced for 4 years. And David gets checkmate and rides away on his bike. And while his dad's still trying to figure out how he just won, or how David just won and he lost. So David is a satellite technician and systems engineer at a cable television company. He rides his bike to his workplace, and Marty Gilbert is yelling at him about the satellites are down and everything is going crazy. David focuses on the fact that they've been improperly recycling. He's an environmentalist. And they talk about how it's as if the satellites aren't even there. Now, Marty Gilbert is played by Harvey Fierstein, who I think most people will remember from Mrs. Doubtfire. He like helps with the prosthetics for Mrs. Doubtfire. So if you watch Mrs. Doubtfire again, you'll see the Harvey in that movie helping with prosthetics. He was also Yao in Mulan. So if you watch Mulan, the cartoon, he's in that movie. He was in Bullets Over Broadway, and he has a very distinct voice. So he's been in a lot of voiceover work as well because of that. In a camper, we see a kid hitting the TV because the signal is all screwed up, and a guy comes to the camper, and Miguel goes out to greet him. He's angry because his crop is wilting, which doesn't make any sense because it would have been filled with bugs, not like looked like it hadn't been watered. Because when you crop dust, you kill bugs, not water it. So that seemed weird to me. I was like, I don't think that's a bug infestation. He says if his father isn't there in 20 minutes, I'm getting somebody else. And Miguel goes out on his motorbike and tracks his father as he's crop dusting a field. Miguel yells out to Russell Case. It's the wrong field, and a drunk Russell lands and stumbles out, and Miguel leaves. Now, Miguel is played by James Duval, who was in May, Gone in 60 Seconds, and Donnie Darko. Miguel's little brother, Troy, is played by Giuseppe Andrews, who was in Detroit Rock City, Pleasantville, Cabin Fever, and Never Been Kissed, and he was also in American History X. Russell Case is played by the awesome Randy Quaid, who's known as, most people would know him as Cousin Eddie in National Lampoon's Vacation and Christmas Vacation. So at Christmas time, when he's like, pouring out the poop from his camper and he says shitter's full, like that's Cousin Eddie.
Oh my God, I've seen that movie. Oh my
And
God.
you've seen probably clips of it, and there's like ornaments made now of him saying that, and like it's all sorts of things.
Oh my God.
But he was also in Caddyshack 2, Out Cold, Frankenstein, Major League 2, and Not Another Teen Movie, and Brokeback Mountain. Meanwhile, at the White House, the presidential aides are trying to get answers out of the communications director. The president is getting updates from the chief of staff and the secretary of defense and the general. Now, the secretary of defense, Albert Nimzicki, is played by James Rebhorn, who is known for his role in Scent of a Woman, The Game, and Talented Mr. Ripley. He was also in Guiding Light, Sarah Plain and Tall, My Cousin Vinny, Basic Instinct, Lorenzo's Oil as well. Blank Check, My Fellow Americans, Meet the Parents, White Collar, and Homeland.
He was in
So
Blank Check. That's cool. That's on our list, isn't that?
that is on our list. They talk about how they can't shoot the item down because it would cause debris and go everywhere. They want to find out what he wants, what it wants. They decide to upgrade to DEF CON 3, which seems very low in my opinion because I feel like we have more numbers than that now. But many troops are out and leave for the holiday, and that's the issue as well. They get an emergency report that the object has about 36 pieces break off and spread out. They're entering the atmosphere within the next 25 minutes. So in Iraq, we see the ship entering the atmosphere. In a submarine, the radar tech says that they have a total radar blackout over a 13-mile area, but the infrared is totally off the map. The commander calls to the Atlantic Command. The command is getting a dozen ships over a dozen countries. The news picks it up and people start to panic. They're heading to all these major cities is where these ships are. All devices are down. They're talking about zero visibility and instrumentation is malfunctioning. They send a plane into to see it, and it flew into essentially a fireball and went down.
Yeah, that was scary. Like the beginning part kind of reminded me of The Fifth Wave, like the book and the movie, The Fifth
Oh,
Wave.
okay.
Yeah.
With the intensity and
Yeah.
yeah.
Just like I think it was more the cinematography too, like the way they filmed. It reminded me of how they filmed The Fifth Wave, and I was like, "Oh my God, The Fifth Wave was probably based on like how this was made."
I mean, a lot of big movies like this are kind of that same idea. Well, the president calls for everyone going to a secure area, initiate the emergency broadcast system, and tell them to stay in their homes. The general remains with the president. He asks what happens if they become hostile, and the president says, God help us. At David's office, the entire office is watching the news from the government. They have three phenomenon heading to LA, New York, and Washington, D.C. At the camper, Miguel, Troy, and his sister Alicia watch the news. Alicia is played by Lisa Jacob, who you may know from Mrs. Doubtfire as well. But she was also in George Lucas in Love and Matinee. The TV station heads down to the bomb shelter, and the boss says he needs to call his mother.
I didn't like the way that they like didn't really make this a huge deal at first to the public. You know what I mean?
Well,
Like
they don't know what's going on though. Like you don't want to inspire mass hysteria until you know that that's necessary. You generally
yeah.
want to like calm people down and tell them everything's going to be okay. Because what happens when you have mass hysteria is you have looting, you have crime, you have fires, you have all sorts of stuff rise, right? So
Yeah.
that's
That
not the
makes
initial
sense. I
thing.
mean,
They don't know
yeah.
what's going on. They don't know who it
Yeah.
is. They don't know what they want. They don't know what it is. They don't know anything right now.
Yeah, I guess I didn't really think about it that way. I just more thought about it in a sense of like if that happened to like if this was actually happening, I'd want to know on the immediate. But
Yeah, they were
also
not going to tell you.
I
I hate to tell you, they're not going to tell you.
yeah. Yeah.
Sorry.
Mm. So if we have an alien invasion, we won't know until it's too late. I'm gonna be
Probably. Yeah.
Jasmine running with my dog and my kid. Like
Um, At dinner, hungover, Russell is being teased about having, or sorry, at a diner, Russell is being teased about having been kidnapped by aliens and they did experiments on him. The diner starts shaking as the ship hovers over the town. Russell and the kids see something entering the atmosphere. In a house, Dylan tries to wake his mom as the house shakes. Jasmine tells her boyfriend to go back to sleep. Now, Dylan is played by Ross Bagley, who was in The Little Rascals, so we'll see him again. The French Prince of Bel-Air, he played Nikki Banks, so the young kid. So he worked with Will Smith for a long time before this movie. And Babe, he was in that movie as well. Jasmine DeBrow is played by Vivica A. Fox, who was in Kill Bill Volume 1, Batman and Robin, and 1-800-Missing. She was also in Generations, The Tuskegee Airmen, Arsenio, Ella Enchanted, and a million things since. She's been in a lot. And now we see Captain Stephen Hiller, played by Will Smith. This is the boyfriend, who we know from the clip you saw of The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, but he was also
Mhm.
in Men in Black, I Am Legend, Hitch, Hancock, Made in America, Bad Boys, Ali, The Legend of Bagger Vance, I, Robot, The Pursuit of Happiness, 7 Pounds, Aladdin, the live action. Most recently, he did a series where he travels and explores the globe, and that's actually really good. He like talks about everybody like knows and remembers his experience with at the award show where he was like, keep my wife's name out your mouth.
Oh
Um,
my God, yeah.
yeah, and so this show that he did, he like realized he got canceled after that. And so the show that he did was like trying to like I think find himself and also reconcile what happened to him and that he didn't handle things appropriately and he was put back in his place because of it. And at first I didn't like the show was good, but he like I was like, quit your whining. Like you did
Yeah,
you got what you deserve kind of thing. But then as it was like, people make mistakes. Like as you keep watching
yeah,
it, you're like, okay, people make mistakes. There was a reason that he reacted that way. That came out after. And yeah, just interesting. So anyway,
yeah.
I do recommend going to watch a show. I can't remember what it is, but it's like with National Geographic and he like goes all over the world.
I'm writing that down.
We can look it up too. But I didn't find it before. So I couldn't remember the name. Well, the phenomenon aka alien spaceships, cover Washington, D.C., and Patricia Whitmore, the daughter of the president, hops into his arms. Now, Patricia Whitmore is played by Mae Whitman. She is known for One Fine Day, which is on our list, Hope Floats, The Perks of Being a Wallflower, and more recently, she was in The Duff. She is still acting, and she's amazing. You'll see her in lots of stuff.
Wait, do you know who she plays in Perks of Being a Wallflower? That's like one of my favorite movies. And I didn't even put two and two
Um,
together.
um,
Because like,
I think she's one of the main characters. Yeah, she is,
oh, is she the blonde girl?
she's not Emma Watson, obviously.
Yeah.
Um, she is.
I
Hold
love Emma.
on. She plays Mary Elizabeth.
Oh my God, I didn't even put that together. Oh, I do not like Mary Elizabeth.
Well, she's a really good actress from childhood, so she plays controversial characters throughout her career because she's
Yeah.
good at it. She's good at playing anything, honestly. The Duff is really good too, if you ever see that movie. It's a good
Yeah.
movie.
I have. Oh my God, how did I like not put two? That's crazy. I'm gonna have to go back because I like both of those movies, rewatch them, and now have a whole
Well,
different
she's the main
perspective.
character in The Duff, so
Yeah. Oh my
but
God.
that's Mae Whitman. She was in a lot of shows and movies, like as this little cute, 'cause she's just so freaking cute. She just want to pinch her cute little cheeks. Anyway, well, David sees it cover up New York City, the aliens, the phenomenon, uh, and it as it bursts out of the clouds and hovers above the city. Meanwhile, everyone is getting into accidents. They're running from the spaceship. People are panicking, and David realizes something about the signal. Now, the president decides to address the nation. And then we see the dog bringing the shoe to Captain Hiller. He gets up to pee and says that the neighbors are moving out. And then he says something about the quake on the news. His kid is shooting at aliens, and Captain Hiller steps out to grab the paper and doesn't realize everyone else is looking up. And then he looks up, and when he sees this helicopter fly towards the ship. And then we hear the report that there are 15 ships all over the world. David realizes a signal hidden in the satellite feed, and it's actually a countdown. It's like in chess. First, you strategically position your pieces, and then when the timing is right, you strike. They're using the signal to synchronize their efforts, and approximately 6 hours, the countdown will be over. Checkmate. Oh my God, I gotta call my brother, my housekeeper, my lawyer. Oh, forget my lawyer, is what his boss says.
The
The
way
president.
people reacted to this, I thought was so not like beautiful. It wasn't good, obviously, like that this was happening, but it was like so realistic. I feel like the street scenes and like seeing the cars and all that was so realistic. You know what I mean? Because like
Yeah.
that's how people would react, and like even the way like the taxis just like there was a scene specifically where like they were on the street and the taxi stopped in the middle of the road and the car behind him like hit him, and I was
Hmm.
like, that's how I'd react. Like if I saw that, that's how I'd react.
Did you ever see the movie Don't Look Up?
No, that
Okay.
sounds good.
You need to see that one too.
Okay.
Okay. Um, all right. So the president comes on TV to talk about the question of if they're alone has obviously been answered. Uh, Now David calls Constance, his ex-wife. You got to leave the White House, he says. They're going to attack. And she says he's paranoid and hangs up on him. Now David takes off on his bike, getting through the chaos of Washington, D.C. Steve Hiller, Pax, and Jasmine are getting through the chaos in New York, sorry. Steve Hiller, Pax, and Jasmine is upset. He was on leave for the 4th, but now he's been called in. He says he's going to report in to El Toro and find what's going on. That's the
Yeah,
base. She
which
tells
is
him to
so
take
fair.
yeah, she tells him to take care of himself, and he tells her to get some things packed and come stay with him on the base. So, meanwhile, back in New York City, everyone is looting. David goes to his dad's house and asks him about the car, and he tells him he's driving. The president talks to his wife. He wants her out of LA as soon as possible, and she says she'll leave after the interviews. And he says there's a helicopter waiting. Now, communication on all common frequencies has been failing. David and his dad are arguing about what David knows is probably what the president knows. He's like, and David's like, they don't know. And his dad complains, you're not so smart. You spent 8 years at MIT to become a cable repairman. They probably know, essentially. And we see Russell get arrested, and the kids see it on TV. Miguel says they're packing up and hauls his sister out of a car where a boy is trying to talk her into having sex. Now, this boy I wanted to mention because that is Andrew Keegan. He is a 90s heartthrob. He was in the movie 10 Things I Hate About You, The
I
Broken Hearts
recognized
Club,
him.
Camp
That's one of
Nowhere.
my notes.
He's in the good movie Freaky Friday, which was the TV movie on Disney. I like that one better than the actual movie. He was in Thunder Alley. He was in one episode of Boy Meets World. He was in a few episodes of Party of Five, Seventh Heaven. He was in A Dog's Life, where there were also sorry, and he was there were rumors that he started a cult. He did not. He started a community center.
You said like
Um,
what? Why do people think?
yes. He's really good friends with Danielle Fishel from who played Topanga in Boy Meets World. I think they dated at one point
I love him.
a long time ago when they were little. Anyway, Captain Hiller reports to base. He gets a letter that he didn't get into work in the space program. His buddy, Captain Jimmy Wilder, reads him the letter, and then just then a ring box falls out of his stuff, and Jimmy sees it. He tells him he's never going to fly a space shuttle if he marries a stripper. Now, Jimmy is played by Harry Connick Jr., who was in Hope Floats, Copycat, The Iron Giant. He's mostly known for his music career, as his dad was actually Frank Sinatra's band leader, and he has like a whole music career of his own.
Oh, that's really cool. Dang.
Yes, Harry Connick Sr. Was a band leader for Frank Sinatra.
Wait, that's really cool.
And I've actually
Okay.
seen him in concert, and he was talking about his son, and then he was also talking about Michael Bublé. Before Michael Bublé like came up, he was like, "You're gonna meet this kid. He sounds just like Frank." Anyway, long story short. So we see Jasmine on the pole because she's a stripper, and no one is paying attention to her because of the news. She finishes her set and decides she's gonna leave. There are a bunch of weirdos on top of a building on the news to welcome the aliens, and her friend Tiffany says she's gonna join them, and she asks her friend Tiffany not to go, and her friend promises that she won't. And spoiler, that's a lie. Now, Tiffany is played by Kirsten Warren, who was in Saved by the Bell, the college years, 13 Going on 30, Desperate Housewives, Bicentennial Man, and Divine Secrets of the Yeah Sisterhood. David and his dad, meanwhile, are driving to Washington, D.C. He calls Constance's phone. He says he can use her signal to try to triangulate her position to the White House, and he finally gets a hold of her. He tells her to walk to the window. He's outside, and he waves to her. Now, I do want to point out that that drive took 4 hours because I was like, they make it seem like it's nothing, and that was a 4 hour drive. So that clock is ticking.
Yeah, I thought like all the time scenes, because there's a scene at the end of the movie too, where with the timer, where like that is not accurate. Like some of the times is inaccurate because I remember there was like a 30-second timer towards the end where they were like trying to
Yeah.
get away from the mothership. And it went down by like 3 seconds when they were already far away from the ship. And I was like, that is the most inaccurate thing ever.
They
Like you would
flew
have like
fast,
10 seconds.
Hannah. This is space.
It's Star Wars. You're right. You're
This
right.
is Earth time and this is space. Okay. Well, the government retrofitted a helicopter with lights to signal to the aliens. It's the welcome wagon. Meanwhile, David is in the Oval Office waiting for the president. He's not sure he's going to listen to him because the last time he saw him, David walked in and punched him in the head. Julius says, "You punched the president?" And David said, "He wasn't the president yet." David thought Constance was having an affair, which she wasn't. Now, Constance goes to get the president. Meanwhile, the helicopter is heading to make contact. Connie says, 2 minutes, and yells, "David, tell him." Now, David says he knows why they have a satellite disruption. The ship is using our satellites to relay to other ships. He found a signal hidden in the satellites, and it's a ticking clock. Now, the welcome wagon initiates the communication sequence, and the president tells the people to evacuate the cities and tells the helicopter to pull back. They don't yet. The ship responds to the welcome wagon and zaps it and the other helicopters. They evacuate the White House and they head to the plane with the president. Now, the president's wife is also evacuating in LA. Jasmine Dog, Boomer, and her kid are stuck in the car on the highway. Meanwhile, we see Tiffany on the roof with her sign welcoming to make themselves at home, which they are trying to do. Marty trying to call his therapist and is also stuck in traffic. The president boards Air Force One with Patricia, Connie, David, and his dad as the timer runs out. The first lady has just taken off as the ship blasts the building in LA, killing Tiffany and everyone on the building. The fireball spreads as people flee each of the cities with a blast radius of a few miles. Air Force One takes off just in time. Now, Jasmine and her son and her dog leave the car in the tunnel on the run, and she kicks down the door in the tunnel and goes in with her dog Boomer and her kid, jumping in at the last minute as they stay safe from the blast of fire. And now we're to July 3rd.
Yeah, can we talk about for a second when the blast happened and Jasmine like ran with her son? I thought the dog was going to die. That would have been so sad. I think I would have cried. So I'm
Oh,
just
yeah.
gonna read my note for this. What happened to Jasmine's dog? WTF? Oh, never mind. I got scared. And then in parentheses, explosion was happening. And then in all caps, the dog survived. That was crazy. That's what I imagine Air Buddies is like. The way he like jumped
He's
out
not
of the
getting a
car.
basket, Hannah. He's trying to flee an explosion. Meanwhile, on July 3rd, we see the Statue of Liberty laying in the water. The records of devastation of the city is left in ruins. Russell and the kids are driving, and Troy gets so sick that they need to pull over. On Air Force One, the president feels bad about not evacuating the cities. We find out that he used to be a fighter pilot, and that job was simpler. No crap. He finds out that his wife's helicopter didn't make it and there's no radio contact. We see Jasmine in the rubble trying to navigate out with her son and the dog. Captain Hiller and team are getting instructions as he says she's anxious to get up there and whoop ET's ass. Kick the tires and light the fires, Big Daddy, Jimmy says. They all got cigars, but they don't light them up until the fat lady sings. They have NORAD on the phone. The city communications are down. The group of pilots is near the target, heading in 4 minutes. Captain Hiller says he shouldn't have left her, and Jimmy assures him that she probably got out of there. Now, the Black Knights, which is all these pilots, approach the ship. AMRAAM missiles are locked in on the and firing at will. They fire all of their missiles and they explode on a force field, not getting through. They try firing again, nothing. They have a protective shield. One guy dies trying to, they end up having to pull up and he ends up going into the force field. He can't pull up. Others hit the ships coming out of the ship as they're coming out, and others are getting attacked by these spaceships coming out who also have the same shields, and the knights are dropping like flies.
I thought it was kind of cool. Not gonna lie, like obviously the force field was terrible, but I thought it was kind of cool that there was a force field and that they were so technologically advanced. Because I think if they're aliens, they know 10 times more than we do.
Well, if they're aliens and they made it to Earth.
Yeah. Well,
Like,
that makes sense. If
I mean,
they're,
we're not
yeah,
traveling to other places yet that have
yeah.
people occupying them. So,
That's
anyway,
so
well,
true. Yeah.
Captain Hiller and Jimmy retreat, but they have aliens on their tail. When they try to get out of there, Jimmy can't shake them and he panics and Jimmy gets killed. Jimmy, no! The alien ship comes in and attacks the Air Force base. Steve dodges the ship in a canyon as he's running out of fuel, probably the Grand Canyon maybe, and he puts out his parachute onto the alien ship and then leaves his plane as it explodes and he takes out the alien ship that way. He parachutes down into the desert not far from the alien ship and he yells, "That's right! That's right! Get off me!" is what he's yelling at his like parachute's like holding him back. He's like, "Get off me! Get off me!" And then he's still yelling at the alien ship, like, "That's what you get. Look at you, ship all banged up. Who's the man, huh? Who's the man? Wait till I get another plane. I'm lying in all your friends up right beside you. Where are you at?" And then he opens the hatch to the cockpit. The alien pilot lunges out, shrieking horribly, just as he punches it out with a welcome to Earth. He then gets out his cigar and says, "That's what I call a close encounter." Now, Jasmine
Heck yeah.
spots a truck and gets the keys from the visor and gets it started. Miguel runs back to the camper. He said everyone's packing up because there's a spaceship heading that way. We then go to David, who's getting sick on the plane. He gets airsick or motion sick. Julius tells Constance that there's still love there, and she says love was never the problem. The president is advised to counterstrike. He doesn't want to kill more American citizens. They find out NORAD is gone. They've taken out NORAD. The Secretary of Defense is suggesting nukes, and David says no. Julius stands up for his son. Julius says in the 1950s, they had a spaceship in Roswell, including the bodies in Area 51. You knew then and did nothing. And the president says there is no Area 51. And the Secretary of Defense is like, it's not entirely accurate, Mr. President. Jasmine, as we go back to Jasmine, she has picked up survivors in the truck and they're trying to drive somewhere safe. They check the bodies along the way. And Boomer signals that there is a woman still alive, so they get to her. We then see Captain Hiller dragging an alien wrapped in a parachute across the desert. Captain Hiller says, talking to this unconscious alien that he's dragging, "You know, this is supposed to be my weekend off, but no, you got me out here dragging your heavy ass through the burning desert with your dreadlocks sticking out the back of my parachute. You got to come down here with your attitude, acting all big and bad." And he's yelling, he's like, "What's that smell?" And he like kicks the alien. He's like, "I could have been at a barbecue." And then he
Oh,
starts to
that's
calm down and he's like, "But I ain't mad. It's all right." And he's like still pulling him across the desert.
the alien, like they were creepy, but they were not as creepy as I expected. Like I was
Okay.
expecting some like I was expecting something from like the Matrix, like not a machine obviously, but like something like,
Those were not aliens. We talked about this.
well, they're not aliens. Yeah, I just said like they were machines, but like I expected like that vibe. You know what I mean? Like
Mm.
I don't know how to explain it. Like tubes almost, and like all like I didn't expect them to have like a head with like eyes. Like I expected them to look very different.
Okay.
Like I don't know why, but going
I
into
think
this,
you need to draw for us what you think aliens should look like.
I can. That was a good idea. I'll include that. I'll include what I think an alien would look
We'll
like.
just post it on our socials after.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
My interpretation.
Of what you think aliens should look like. Yeah.
Yeah. I think they're supposed to be creepier, not humanoid. Mm-mm.
I don't think those were humanoid, but okay.
They were more
Well,
humanoid than I expected. I don't know.
Steve sees the campers approaching and one stops. Russell asks if he needs a ride, and Captain says he saw a base not too far from here. And Russell says it's not on the map. And Steve says, "Trust me, it's there." The president lands at Area 51 and heads down to the main research facility. The president refuses decontamination and heads down into the facility. "Why wasn't I told about this place?" he says. And the Secretary of Defense says, "Plausible deniability." They meet Dr. Oken, who's been heading the research on this for the last 15 years. weird guy. Dr. Oken is played by Brett Spiner. They show the president the spaceship they have. It was a force field as well, but recently it's all lit up in the last 24 hours. He tells the president they breathe oxygen comparable tolerance to heat, cold, and he asks if they want to see the aliens. They have a vault of bodies recovered. They wore biomechanical suits and they have no vocal cords, so they communicate through telepathy. Their technology is more advanced, but their bodies are as frail as ours. The president asks David to share what he's learned and to figure them out. Now, Captain Heller pulls up to Area 51 in the back of a pickup truck and introduces himself, and the guard says, "I'm sorry, Captain, this is a restricted area. I can't let you pass without clearance." The Captain Heller says, "Okay, come here. You want to see my clearance?" And then he shows the guard an alien wrapped up in a parachute, and the guard jumps back. He's like, "Maybe I'll just leave this here with you." And the guard's like, "Let them pass, let them pass." Get the hell out of the way. And then the guard was like, "Did you see that?" So they all run out to get the body. They get him into containment. The general yells at the Secretary of Defense for not sharing this information, causing them to lose their fighters. And the general says they're looking at the destruction of every major city in the next 36 hours. And the president realizes they're being exterminated. President meets Captain Heller and wants to go see the alien. Now, Captain Heller says to the general that he's anxious to get back to El Toro. It's his base. But it's been completely destroyed. And that's where Jasmine was heading. So he's really worried about that. Now, Jasmine arrives in the back of a truck, with the back of the truck to El Toro and sees all this destruction, thinking Steve might be gone. She talks with the First Lady, and the First Lady learns that she's an exotic dancer. Jasmine makes good money, and so she says her son is worth it. Jasmine admits she also voted for the other guy. In the lab, they go spread the alien skull apart and it springs open for a fun shock factor that scared the crap out of me in the movie theater. The alien's fingers move as they're peeling back its outside to its inside. It sends signals to the doctor's brain and ends up getting free and killing everyone as the doctor's brain is being scrambled. They go down to the viewing window and they see fog. They call for Dr. Oken. As the president steps to the window, the doctor is slammed against the glass. "Release me." The alien is talking through him, having taken him hostage. The president tries to negotiate a truce. "Can there be peace between us?" And the alien says, "No peace." And then he asks what they want him to do. And the alien says, "Die." He starts attacking the president with his telepathy, and they shoot and kill the alien, who makes some dying cat noises. And the president says he saw his thoughts. "I saw his thoughts. I saw what they were planning to do. They're like locusts. They're moving from planet to planet, their whole civilization. After they've consumed every natural resource, they move on, and we're next. Nuke them. Let's nuke the bastards." David doesn't like that they're going to nuke anything. Connie wanted to make a difference, and David is jealous of that. She says she could have done anything that he could have done anything that he wanted. She was career focused and he was relationship focused, but they still love each other is kind of what we learn. Sergeant Hiller steals a helicopter to go find Jasmine. The pilots with the nukes are breaking formation and initiating the code in Houston, Texas. The major cities have been deserted, so civilization casualties should be at a minimum. They deploy the nuke. They're trying to confirm the target was destroyed, but nope, it is still there. The target remains and the nukes did not work. They call the other planes back. The helicopter lands and Captain Hiller calls out for Jasmine. She says he's late. He says, well, she knows he likes to make an entrance. They get the people medical attention, including the First Lady. The doctor says she's already bleeding internally and they cannot stop the bleeding and there's nothing they can do for her, to the president.
So sad.
Now, Patricia hugs her mom, and he asks Patricia if she can go wait outside so mom can rest. They say goodbye. She dies. He goes back out to the waiting room with his daughter, and she says, "Is mommy sleeping now?" And he says she is, and they cry together.
That was so sad. I have that written down when he, like, literally word for word was just like, "Mommy's sleeping." That made me so sad.
Yep. Now we're to July 4th. Julius looks for David, who is throwing a fit. He wants to make the planet less desirable to the aliens. Maybe that's what we're doing now, Hannah. We're just making the planet less desirable for the aliens.
Yay, climate destabilization. No aliens. I'm joking, guys. I'm very against that, obviously. But
Julius tells him everyone loses faith at some point. He hasn't spoken to God since his mother died. They have to remember what they still have. They still have his health. He tells him to get off the ground before he catches a cold, and David has a light bulb moment. He wakes everyone up because they have work to do. David has Major Mitchell shoot the Coke can off the alien craft. It hits a force field and ricochets around. The Coke can was protected by the shield. He says that they need to get around their defenses, and he has the Major shoot it one more time. This time he hits the Coke can. Now, why did that work? He gave the ship a computer virus. He can use their own signal against him. They have to give the virus in the mothership. They have to fly the alien craft there, dock it to the mothership. They upload the virus, then they hit them with an explosion long enough to take the other ships down. The shields would then be down for a matter of minutes. They need to coordinate this worldwide strike.
mhm.
Now, Captain Hiller offers to fly the alien ship. He's always wanted to fly for NASA. Why not? The president said, okay, let's do it. Now, David credits his dad with the virus idea. Now, David asks Steve, do you really think you can fly that thing? And Steve famously fires back, do you really think you can do all the bullshit that you just said? The Secretary of Defense says, just because he's devastated over the death of his wife, he shouldn't make this mistake, and the president fires him. They send out transmissions around the world using Morse code to organize a counteroffensive. They ask for pilots everywhere. Russell comes forward. He's a pilot from Nam and a current pilot doing crop dusting. F-18s are a little bit newer, so everybody has to be trained. Miguel starts feeding Russell coffee after coffee, and Russell tells people that he was kidnapped by aliens and is dying for some payback. Now,
Heck yeah.
they outfit the spaceship with a nuke. They'll have 30 seconds to get out of the mothership. David is going up with Steve. He says he's always trying to save the planet, and here's his chance. And Connie says now he gets ambitious. Jasmine and Steve get married. He says they should have done this a long time ago, and David and Connie are their witnesses for their wedding. Connie notices that David still wears his wedding band, and she holds his hand during the wedding. The president notices that their group is a little young, and they look a little nervous. Now, the president then greets the group with his famous speech, "Good morning. In less than an hour, aircraft from here will join others from around the world, and you will be launching the largest aerial battle in the history of mankind." Mankind. That word should have new meaning for all of us today. We can't be consumed by our petty differences anymore. We will be united in our common interests. Perhaps it's fate that today is the 4th of July, and you will once again be fighting for our freedom, not from tyranny, oppression, or persecution, but from annihilation. We are fighting for a right to live, to exist, and we should win the day. The 4th of July will no longer be known as the American holiday, but the day that the world declared in one voice, we will not go quietly into the night. We will not vanish without a fight. We are going to live on. We're going to survive. Today, we celebrate our Independence Day. And the crowd cheers. Now, the president is a combat pilot, and he says he belongs in the air. Steve tells his new son that as soon as he gets back, they're going to light up some fireworks. Now, Julius gives David some airsick bags, and David gives him a Bible and a yarmulke, just in case. Connie tells him to be careful. Julius also gives them 2 cigars to David and Steve, because Steve said he needs those. Couldn't do it without them. Russell puts a photo of
What
his
is
kid.
with the cigars?
Celebratory.
What is with the cigars?
Celebratory.
Like,
So Russell puts a photo
yeah,
of his kids
go.
in his plane, and he almost launches the missile and says, I picked a hell of a day to quit drinking. Steve gives David a cigar and says it's their victory dance, but not until the fat lady sings. And David said he's got it. They take off, and he bumps into a wall. Oops. And then David says, what do you mean, oops? And Captain Heller says, some jerk put this, and he turns the piece of paper around the wrong way around. David's like, don't say oops. And Captain's like, what do you say we try that again? And David's like, yes, yes, but without the oops. That way. They fly out, and Steve yells, I've got to get me one of these. And David is getting nauseous, but then they leave the Earth's atmosphere and head towards the mothership. The ship is being brought in by the mothership, and David says, I was counting on this. And Steve says, well, when the hell were you going to tell me? And David's like, oops. Steve's like, we need to work on our communication. Now the ships start moving into position on the ground and people are preparing. Steve and David enter the mothership and fly past the entire network. They approach the dock, seeing the aliens lined up below, millions preparing for an invasion. They dock and realize the aliens might be able to see them, so David pushes a button and the window is blocked off as they dock so they can't be seen. David starts the program with the virus, he's uploading it, and they tell the pilots to stand by to engage. At the base, they get everyone above inside as they start the process. They shoot a missile at the ship and it hits the shield. The president shoots again and it actually goes past the shield and hits. Virus is working. So they all start firing at the ship and the little ships that come out of it. David and Steve try to leave, but the ship is stuck and the alien investigates their ship on his computer screen. At the base, they try to get everyone inside as they're under attack. The aliens open the window that like the thing that was blocking the window, and Steve and David have to hide. Now at the base, they're all praying below. The planes keep hitting the ship. The ship is preparing to fire the primary weapon. The president tries to lock on, but it's a negative impact, and all missiles have been fired. Then we hear Russell, sorry I'm late, Mr. President, and Russell Case has a missile still and says he won't let them down. So they go and they give Russell cover, and he goes to fire, and it's jammed. It won't disconnect. So Russell tells them all to tell his kids that he loves them, and he says, all right, you alien a-holes, in the words of my generation, up yours. He flies his plane into the beam and takes out the ship from the center point. It explodes. He did it. The SOB did it. The president and remaining pilots fly back as the ship explodes. The commander tells Miguel that what his father did was very brave and he should be proud, and Miguel says that he is. They know how to take them out, spread the word. They pass the message along with Morse code across the world. Meanwhile, David and Steve are still stuck. Checkmate. Steve and David light up their cigars. It's been a pleasure. Only one thing left to do. They execute the missile and say goodnight, hitting the alien and jostling the plane loose. David says, we're loose. Can you get us out of here in 30 seconds? And Steve says, I ain't heard no fat lady. And David says, forget the fat lady. You're obsessed with the fat lady. Just drive us out of here. Ships start attacking them, and David says, we're hit. We took a hit. And Captain says, we're not hit. We're not hit. Stop side seat driving. And David's like, left, left, tunnel, tunnel, exit, exit, left. And Captain says, where the hell do you think I'm going? And David's like, okay, we're like communicating. And David's like, well, they're closing up on us. They're closing on us. And Captain says, shut up, shut up. So they're yelling at each other, and David's like, must go faster, go, 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 go. And Steve is like, ah! As he's like going out to this tiny little hole. Their plane gets out, and Elvis has left the building. David says, thank you very much in his Elvis voice, and I love you. The nuke detonates, the mothership explodes, and it sends shrapnel everywhere, and the dust cloud catches up with them. Meanwhile, we see the crashed ships everywhere in all the countries across the globe, and humanity is celebrating. No word from the guys yet. They had lost contact, but then they have something on the radar, and a Humvee goes out to the desert to find David and Steve walking back from their crashed plane
Ship.
thing.
Yeah.
Ship, thank you. And they're walking back, they're smoking their cigars. Jasmine and Connie run out to the guys. The president and the general salute them. The president tells David, not bad, and shakes his hand. And Julius asks David if the cigars are really healthy, and David says he could get used to it. They see the debris from the mothership explode into the atmosphere, and it's raining down. And Patricia says, happy 4th of July, Daddy. And Steve tells Dylan, didn't I promise you fireworks? And that's the end. So, what I miss?
Okay, so my first thoughts within the first 20 minutes, I feel like there's a lot going on. And then, as I already said, this reminds me of Star Wars. David reminded me of Poe from the newer Star Wars.
Okay.
I don't know how to explain it, but he just did. And then I already said most of this. I said it was scary that these ships are all over the world in different areas, just spreading out. I don't even remember who this guy was. There was a guy at the beginning, and I said, "Is this guy gay?" Haha. I couldn't tell if he was gay. Like there was a guy who was like, "Is he gay?" I could not
Are you
tell.
talking about Harvey Firestein, like his probably the boss?
I think so. Yeah, the
He
one.
plays
Yeah.
it. Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Okay. So President Whitmore low-key freaked me out with how he expressed the ships. Hashtag not cool. Ship, the design of it was crazy. And like the way that they did the force fields with like the blue, it wasn't like sparkly, but you know what I mean? Like the blue, like fluorescent light almost. I thought that was super cool. I thought that was super cool. Maybe I want to be abducted by aliens. But I also hated that there was a force field. I said, bro, this damn ship. It just like I thought it was so cool. Oh, I wrote the song "End of the World." I thought that was kind of cool. I liked that song. So, and then I also wrote the way they all rush outside is crazy before the ship comes. I thought that was super interesting. Oh, this is a question for you.
Okay.
I bet you'll know this answer. So, when everything started exploding, why were there horses? Like, why were people on horses?
The cops.
That's like a thing? Cops ride horses?
Yeah.
Oh
There's
my
some
God.
there's some police officers that are on horseback because it allows them to navigate like park areas and other places a little bit more efficiently than like it's like being a bike cop.
Huh. Oh my God, I always forget that there's bike cops.
Yes, but
Wow.
I think New York City has there are some cities that have them. There's some here in Michigan. I'm sure there's probably some maybe in Illinois, but yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I was curious about that. Cool. Didn't know that. Okay, I said at the beginning of the movie, none of these are in order, by the way, yeah, none of these are in order. At the beginning of the movie, when it showed the Statue of Liberty, I thought that was really cool because I don't know, I just liked that. I like the Statue of Liberty. It's pretty.
Well, then
So,
they show, I mean, most disaster movies for the United States will then show the Statue of Liberty down. So like if you see the day after tomorrow, the Statue of Liberty is actually on the poster and there's like snow all the way up and only her arm is like the top of her inner arm is sticking out of the snow.
oh my God, okay, I need to watch that. I wrote that down. All right, emailed that to myself.
But yeah, it was important to show like freedom. I mean, that's a symbol of American freedom
Yeah,
uh and then to see it destroyed. It's supposed to be really impactful.
yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I thought that was kind of cool. Oh, another thing this movie reminded me of is the Avatar series. Not like the cartoon, not that, not the
Yeah.
anime. But and I think one is because it was like a 2 hour, 25 minute movie. And two, I
So it's
mean,
just like all long movies remind you, like does it remind you of Titanic? Because like it's a 2 hour,
definitely not. No, it's just like
it's
with the
also a
action
long
and the
movie.
fighting. It was like the action and the fighting. Obviously, there were not bright blue people who were the good guys and who lived natural lives and and have powers. But I wrote down that the timer at the end of the movie, the 30 seconds, was definitely not accurate. But no, I overall really like this movie. Would definitely watch again, which I tend to rewatch our podcast movies sometimes. So yeah. So I really liked it. I
Well, you're gonna be busy because are you ready for our next watch?
yes.
Our next watch is 1999's American Pie. I will say that this movie and our podcast that will follow will not be suitable for young audiences. Unfortunately, unless you have AMC Plus, this movie is a rental on Amazon, YouTube, Google, or Apple TV. I will also add that we will have a special guest, Dwan, my friend and my bestie, soon to be husband, who grew up in Turkey. And when he saw this movie, he was going to be going to college. And so he kind of watched it to get a taste for the American experience. I think this will be a fun take on American parties and college life for talking to somebody from a different perspective. But the synopsis is that four high school seniors, Jim, Kevin, Oz, and Finch, make a pact to lose their virginity by prom night, fed up with their sexual inexperience, the boys navigate the awkward, humiliating, and hilarious situations to score before heading off to college, all while enduring the antics of their arrogant classmate Stifler.
Oh, wait, that sounds
So
good.
it's a very sex-based movie. It's a very fun movie. We've got some fun stories to share, and we'll have our special guest.
I'm excited for this one. I've heard good things. I didn't know it was like that raunchy though, and as we know, I like raunchy movies. I think they're funny, so I'll probably like
Well,
this.
this will be an interesting one for you, and it's good for the summer season. But that's it for this episode. Thanks for hanging out with us and rewinding 90's movie, one show, one movie, one chaotic conversation at a time. If this episode brought back a memory, introduced you to something new, made you want to revisit any other classics, make sure you follow, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts so you don't miss the next episode. And come find us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and now Patreon for clips, behind the scenes moments, and all the extra conversations that didn't make this episode. And until next time, be kind and rewind.
Thanks for listening or watching, everybody.